Well, as you know, we always have a nice update from the Third Mutual Board, and joining us today is Annie McCary, and Annie is on the Third Mutual Board, and you're also on the Media and Communications Committee, so you and I work together,
Yes.
every so often, right?
Yeah.
Very important topics, but another very important topic is not only the things that happen with Third Mutual on a regular basis, but because of what we had at Geneva Presbyterian Church last week or so, that we also have this very important tool that we can use in our community called Code Red.
Yes. Yes, thank you. And Code Red has been around for a long time. All of my years working in the healthcare profession, we had codes for emergencies like Code Blue for certain things and Code Red and Code Pink. So these codes have been around for a long time, and hopefully just the name code is embedded in our minds so that when we hear a Code Red, it just kind of prompts us to know that there's something we need to be more aware of.
Right.
And the reason, and like you said, because of the events that happened a couple of weeks ago, it just brings to mind the importance of Code Red and how we as residents, not just in Third Mutual, but all of Laguna Woods Village, can be aware of things that are going on around us. And one of the best ways that we can do that is to inform residents about the importance of Code Red and how important it is, so easy for them to be subscribed to the Code Red.
Right, and it's so important because it's our way for not only management, but the community to be informed. And unfortunately, we didn't anticipate it would be for a shooting like we had at Geneva Presbyterian, but even for electrical outages and especially disasters of some kind, and something that really is so important in our community that they need to kind of get a hold of you and give you some information. But it's important that people sign up for this.
It is extremely important because that is the only way that you can be sure that you get informed about some of the events that come up. And we talk about this when we have new resident orientation. We talk about how to sign up for Code Red, and we do so much to inform people how they can be aware of how to sign up for Code Red and how important it really is.
Now what we're seeing on the screen is actually a form that you can fill out. You can probably pick it up here in our community center, but you can also go online, and it's a very simple form. It's just giving you basically contact information and giving you authorization to you text people, and I believe email people as well?
Yes, absolutely. And it's because most everybody has a cell phone now, so it's really easy with the cell phone. Wherever you are, whether you're in the village or outside the village, you will get the Code Red alert if you have your cell phone with you.
And that's a good point, because you were just traveling over the weekend, or you could be, you live in Wisconsin or somewhere 6 months out of the year or something like that, but you still could be informed as to what's happening in your community by getting this Code Red in case something of importance is really urgent to get a hold of somebody.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about how we can sign up online. Let's go through some of the instructions here. Now, you can just go to lagunawoodsvillage.com, right?
Yes, absolutely. Just go to your computer, or even if you got your cell phone, just go to lagunawoodsvillage.com and you will see Code Red. You click on Code Red icon, which is the top left corner on your screen.
And then I believe that'll take you right to the next form, which would actually be that Contact Us icon. Kind of takes you through a couple of steps. But I believe once you click on that in that top right corner, then that'll get you to that form process that you can just fill out your information, and then the community would be able to get a hold of you. Absolutely.
And one of the things that's really important about Code Red, and I had this conversation with my husband because we have separate phones.
Right.
And even though you live in the same household, it's important that both members of the household signed up for Code Red so that if you're in separate areas of the village or wherever you are, both people that live in the household can have access to the Code Red alert.
Now, when you probably got it when the Geneva incident happened, so does it just kind of just tell you like, hey, there's something going on in this community? Is it kind of a short message, but
yes, very short, very important message, and with the Geneva incident, but also recently, if there's a fire, whatever we need to do in terms of fire, if we're in danger, and it's just not just one alert, it's an updated alert as well to let you know if you need to evacuate, we will inform you. If you need to stay away from a certain area because of smoke, so it's a very, very important tool to have.
Yeah, it's important that everybody signs signs up for this, and it's so easy to have as well. And it's not like some of those other kind of text messages you get from other organizations where it's kind of, it's almost constant sometimes. You don't even really look at it or take the time to read it. But this is something that only goes out during emergencies. So, it's important that everybody signs up for it. Be sure and go to lagunawoodsvillage.com. And then on the left-hand side at the top, you will see a very large code red. And if you just click on it, they'll take you through that process.
Absolutely. And we just can't emphasize that enough. And this is not a third mutual thing. This is for the village-wide, for any of us that living in the village. Code red is so important to have that.
That's a good point, because it's important that not only the third mutual residents have this available to them, but it's everyone in our community. And like you said, you just never know anymore, because we've had fires in Laguna Beach with the Emerald Fire. We had the fire in Laguna Niguel, and then we had the incident in Geneva. This all happened within a couple of months.
Absolutely, so yes. And when we've had the little time that we did have some rain, we had some really heavy rains, and there was some flood alerts as well.
Yeah. So it's important that people sign up. And now let's talk just quickly about media and communications. You're part of the Third Mutual representation, and we had a meeting just a couple weeks ago. I think it's important that people start to show up for some of these meetings, and if they're interested in broadband and village television and West Coast Internet, of course, too. There's a lot of projects on the table, and the committee is very important and very busy this time of year.
Absolutely, and and I'm glad you brought up the Media and Communications Committee, because a lot of stuff goes on, and especially with TV programs. And I always think back some years ago, a couple of years back, when we got rid of the Angels games, and there was a big outcry from the community because they didn't know about it. And they didn't know about it because apparently they didn't tune into the meetings or hear what was going on. So the Media and Communications Committee is really, really an important committee for the community.
And not just for television, but also the website too. So there's a lot of information and statistics that are shared with our community regarding the website. And then, like you said, I recall that time we had been talking 6 months or so about that, because to lose a channel like Fox Sports West at that time was very important to a lot of Angel fans,
myself included. Yes,
but it was also a very expensive process. And then we also had the same thing with KTLA. And the interesting thing is that you do have new residents that move in, about 10% a year move in. So they're like, hey, where's my Angels baseball? And then you have to kind of just, inform them once again that a couple years back that it was decided that they would no longer carry that channel. But it's just part of the process, and I think it's an important process, because your broadband is one of your most valuable assets in our community.
Yes.
So that's the third Monday of every month, and we're in the boardroom at 1:30 each afternoon.
Yeah, and I really would like to encourage all the residents, if you can, to come to those meetings. And if you have concerns, that's a perfect opportunity to express those concerns, and also to be more aware of what is actually happening in terms of the cable television and all of the media. And
people should realize too that the video business is changing so dramatically, across the country and even across the world, with streaming and all these other apps that are available, and the cost of programming is going so high. There's going to be some significant changes in that platform, whether it's cable TV or whatever you want to call it, like over the top. That's going to be changing in the next, I would say, 2 to 5 years, especially. And your community that you have this asset, you're going to have to figure out too, technically, where you want to go with it and how much you want to support it. So I think in the next couple of years, it's important that people start to show up for these meetings and become informed, and also to get your input. Because we're finding people are using apps and other services like Disney Plus and ESPN Plus and even Paramount Plus. They're all pluses now, right? So it's nice that people are adopting these apps, but it's important too that we understand where we're going with our cable operation.
Yes, and many of us, myself, have a kind of a longer learning curve. So the sooner we make ourselves aware of what's going on, the easier it will be for us to transition over.
Change is hard.
Yes.
no matter how old you are. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us on the program. Once again, Code Red is super important, and we need
Yes.
people to sign up. So if you have not signed up, be sure and go to lagunawoodsvillage.com and click on that Code Red up there in the top left corner.
And I'd just like to add one other thing. If you're one of those residents that are kind of shy about electronics and stuff, call the communications department themselves, and they've got wonderful staff up there, and they can walk you through it if you have an issue with it.
Absolutely, good idea. Well, that's Annie McCary, and she's with us today with Third Mutual Board, and be sure and tune in for them. They actually meet on the third Tuesday of each month at 9:30 a.m. right here in the community center in the boardroom. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're going to be back with more of our program with Lisa Hart and Susan McInerney right after this.